Have you ever daydreamed about hanging up your work hat early and just enjoying life without the daily grind? Sounds pretty sweet, right? But here's the thing not many people talk about. Early retirement? It's not the perfect fit for everyone. Actually, scratch that. It's not for the majority. Believe it or not, only about 13% of workers today are even thinking about calling it quits before they hit 60. At least that's what the Employee Benefit Research Institute found. And for the daring souls who do decide to jump into early retirement, well, the reality can be a whole lot different from that dreamy picture they had in mind. So if you're curious about what early retirement is really like, beyond the glossy photos and the living the dream hashtags, stick around. I'm going to spill the beans on the stuff no one tells you about taking the early retirement route. So here are the 10 things no one tells you about early retirement. All right, the first thing that no one really tells you about when it comes to early retirement is that health care is super expensive. You know how everyone looks forward to Medicare kicking in at 65? Well, if you decide to retire early, there's a gap you're going to have to bridge yourself. And let me tell you, it's not going to be cheap. Brian Schmehill, a big shot in wealth management over at the Mather Group in Chicago, puts it bluntly. Private health insurance before Medicare starts is going to cost you an arm and a leg. And he's not kidding. There's this rule that says your insurance costs shouldn't gobble up more than 8.5% of your household income. So let's say you're flying solo and pulling in $54,360 a year. A middle-of-the-road silver plan would set you back about $385 a month. That adds up to $4,620 a year, just on health insurance. So for those dreaming of saying bye-bye to the 9-to-5 grind before hitting that golden Medicare age, it's super important to factor in the cost of keeping yourself covered. Healthcare is a massive part of the early retirement puzzle, and it's definitely one of those areas where the reality can be a bit of a wake-up call compared to the dream. All right, here's another thing that might catch you off guard. Hitting up your retirement savings early can really cost you. If you decide to retire before you're 59 and a half, you're typically looking at a 10% penalty for early withdrawals from most tax-deferred accounts like your traditional IRAs and 401ks. Matt Stevens from Advice Point in Wilmington, North Carolina points out, there are some ways to get at your IRA money early, but it is a minefield that could trigger some hefty penalties if you're not careful. And don't forget about taxes. Unless you're dealing with a Roth IRA, pulling money from accounts funded with pre-tax dollars means you're going to owe Uncle Sam. For example, yank $20,000 from an IRA too early, and if you're in the 15% tax bracket, you're handing over $5,000 in taxes and penalties, leaving you with just $15,000. Next thing is underestimating the magic of compounding interest. It's like this. When you're saving, time is your best buddy. But once you start spending that retirement fund, it stops working in your favor. Say you put away $250 a month starting at 25 and keep at it until you're 55. With a 6% return on your investments, you're looking at about $237,000 waiting for you. Not too shabby for $90,000 of your own money, right? But if you push through until 65, that number nearly doubles to $464,000. The secret sauce? Another decade of interest, not just on your contributions, but on the interest you've already earned. That's the compounding interest working its overtime magic. Moving forward, the next thing no one tells you about is you may have a long, long life ahead of you. Thinking about calling it quits at 55? Cool, but here's the thing. You've got to make your savings stretch. For women, that means planning for about 28.6 years of retirement on average, instead of 20.4 years if you wait until 65. Guys, you're looking at needing your savings to last 25.1 years, up from 17.8. And for couples hitting 65 together, there's a 1 in 4 chance one of you will be around until 98, as per the Society of Actuaries. Angela Dorsey, a certified financial planner in Torrance, California, throws in, with healthcare getting better, a lot of us are going to outlive those averages. Next thing is that you'll spend more money than you think. You might think you'll spend less once you're not working, right? The usual guess is about 80% of your working day's budget. No more saving for retirement, no commuting costs, no more payroll tax. But early on in retirement, when you're healthy, energetic, and suddenly free every day, you might actually spend as much or more than you did while working. J.P. Morgan Asset Management found that retirees often go through a spending surge on travel, home improvements, or just celebrating the newfound freedom, which usually calms down after a couple years. But with inflation ticking up, your spending plan might need a major overhaul. EBRI reports that 26% of retirees found they're shelling out more than they expected on housing, health, and medical costs. All right, the number 6 thing no one tells you about early retirement is your house doesn't get the memo that you've retired. Even if you've managed to pay off your mortgage, and hats off to you if you have, the spending doesn't stop there. A surprising 44% of people between 60 and 70 are still paying off their homes, according to an American Financing survey. And for the mortgage-free crowd, remember there's still maintenance, repairs, and those ever-joyful property taxes, which only seem to go one way, up. Angela Dorsey, the financial planner from California, reminds us that these costs can eat up a big slice of your budget. Setting aside 1% of your home's value each year for upkeep? On a $350,000 house, that's $3,500 gone like the wind. Next thing is that after early retirement, extra income can be hard to come by. Thinking you'll just snag a part-time job to stay busy and boost your income in retirement? It's not always that easy. Despite 70% of workers saying they'll work in retirement, only 27% of retirees actually do. And part-time jobs, they might not be as flexible as you're dreaming, cutting into travel plans or family time. Leslie Beck, a financial planner in New Jersey, points out that retirees often find part-time work less flexible than anticipated. And if you're eyeing Social Security as a financial cushion, remember, claiming early means smaller checks. Another thing no one tells you is there's a lot of time to kill. Retirement opens up a 40-hour void in your week, and filling that gap can be a bigger challenge than you think. Catherine Valega, a financial planner in Massachusetts, urges retirees to think deeply about their hobbies, volunteering, or even going back to school. It's all fun and games lounging around and taking leisurely walks at first, but what about when the novelty wears off? Having a solid plan for your time is key to a fulfilling retirement. On number 9, we have, you may need to make new friends. If you're bowing out of the workforce in your 50s, get ready for a social shakeup. Your work pals are still grinding away, leaving you to your solo midweek adventures. Dennis Nolte, a financial planner in Florida, notes that many active pre-60 retirees find their new friends are often older, changing the social dynamics they're used to. It's a shift that can take some getting used to, impacting everything from activities to conversations. Finally, the last thing about early retirement is that retirement can be tough for couples. Retirement isn't just a solo journey if you're part of a duo, it's a team transition. Patty Black, a planner in Alabama, cautions that retirement can strain marriages with new dynamics around shared responsibilities and, well, just a lot of togetherness. With gray divorce rates climbing, it's clear that navigating retirement with your partner requires patience, communication, and maybe even some new ground rules. So if you are a couple, then you need to take this in mind too. But divorce ratio is very high in early retirement cases. If you plan on retiring, well, you'll want to avoid these key financial mistakes most people make in their 40s and 50s. So watch this video next.